Is to adopt the agenda.
Move we adopt the agenda as printed.
Second. Motion been made and seconded to adopt the agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Minutes of the previous meeting.
Move to approve the print.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes of July 15th meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Good, nice to have you this morning. Do you have anything that you'd like to pass on?
I appreciate it, guys, being here. Thank you guys for everything you gentlemen did during the flood. And you did add work for making sure it's city level.
Thank you. It's nice to have you. Megan, do you have something you'd like to visit with us about?
Yeah, my name's Megan Peacher, and I'm from Miami. I live just outside of Miami. I'm on Public Water Supply District 3. I've been having some odor issues in my hot water, well, ever since really the switch to chloramines. In December, I've just been switching out my filters every 6 months. In December, I switched them out. The odor never went away, so I've been kind of trying to figure out what the problem was since December. And I got into looking at the chloramine levels for our area. And I noticed they're running really high, and what is happening is the chloramine, I believe, is breaking down my equipment. I had my water tested, and they found 2 VOCs. They found methylcyclobutane and isobutylene. And the chemist told me that these could be coming off of like rubber fittings and seals, like within my plumbing, with my filtration system. I know chloramine is very corrosive to things like that. And I just checked this week the levels of chloramine coming out. I checked for the month of June, they're coming out at 4 at times, which is the EPA limit. I think there were only 6 days in the month of June from going down the list that we did not hit 4. There was only 1 day we didn't hit 3.5. I checked with surrounding communities, and they're pumping it out at like 2, the 2 range, 2.2, 2.4. So I'm just wondering if the chloramine level has to be this high for this area.
Travis, do you have it?
Which those levels that I gave you
Yes.
is actually leaving the water treatment plant. The EPA's level on the 4 milligrams per liter is based out of the distribution system. That is also based, so for City of Marshall, it would have to be over 4 for a very long time. The levels in town, I'd have to look back at that, but they usually are not over 4 in town.
I guess it was back in April that I got this filtration. I actually got a new system because I thought something was wrong with the equipment. That new system worked great for a month. After a month, that chemical odor was back. And when they came out to check it, it was 3.69 coming in my faucet in my kitchen. And that's why I'm wondering, what's the farthest point that they pump?
Probably the furthest we pump, which we actually supply water, which it goes through different water districts, everything, would probably be Blackwater.
And that's the farthest it goes without being retreated, or is it retreated?
No, it was not retreated anywhere.
Okay,
On that particular system. We also supplied part of Lafayette County, parts of Pettis, and Saline too. So,
I went back and looked at Blackwater because I checked around. I thought that was the farthest point. So like I looked, like these are the reports on DNR's website online. And like for June 1st, the reporting that they did was 2.2 for chloramine. So that's the same level at the end of the point that most of these places are sending it out, like Sedelia's sending it out at 2.2. So like my question is, if it's still staying in like at 2.2 at the end point, can we lower those levels? It only has to be 0.5 is what I've been told to kill bacteria.
minimum has to be 0.5, or actually for free chlorine, it's 0.5 leaving the plant. But as large as our distribution system is and our secondary systems, if we went down to those particular levels that low, we wouldn't be able to carry residuals throughout those distribution systems.
I guess Megan is at the front, beginning of the line at Miami, just east on Highway C. she would be one of the,
That would be probably,
and so is
pretty
that why
close.
she's getting a higher, much higher concentration?
probably,
because
because
it's a
they
higher
have to go
amount of
near as
leaks?
many miles.
Is this something like, can it be tested like at the end, and then like if we see like it's staying in there, like can it, is there any way it can be like, I know everybody said like that I've talked to, like, you're the only one with this problem, but I really think that there are probably more people, everybody in this community is affected by this water. And I really think that this same problem could be happening in other homes, and people might not just, they just don't know, like, I've had this issue ever since it started for me, but it's taken me this long to figure out what the problem was, and I've been actively trying to figure out since December, exactly what it was, and I mean, it could be deteriorating pipes, I know it's very corrosive, people have got the lead soldering on the pipes, it's very corrosive, and this stuff can be leaching into the water, and people might not even know. So if it's happening to me, I'm sure that I'm not the only one, it's just taking me a long time, excuse me, to figure out, what the problem is.
We can look at it, but I don't run those other systems, so I don't know what they maintain all the time. But I've noticed through the few years that I've been here, they've had issues, the secondary systems have had issues maintaining residuals. So that's when we went back and we adjusted those residuals here at the treatment plant to try to assist those secondary systems.
But I talked to Eric with Public Water Supply 3, and yeah, that's what he said, like for Miami, and I look back at Miami's and like what's being reported online is 4.0 for like the last 3 to 4 months. He said that it's not that high, but that's the report online, like June, and yeah, the last 4 months it's been reported at 4 within the town of Miami.
Okay.
Which 4 is the EPA limit on a lot of these places like that I've called, they're like, we won't touch 4, like that's the limit. They won't, they're saying that they won't, they won't pump it out, at that level. And I just think it's a concern everybody needs to be aware of, and I mean, if the chemical level can be lower, I think that can still achieve killing the bacteria.
We will have to look at it. Like, everything on it, because I can look at it and see. Okay.
We'll, look at, yeah. We'll have that checked out, and, if you'd like to check back with us, or we'll get back to you and see what we can work out.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome to stay, or you're welcome to leave, or whatever you'd like to do. We'll move into reports. Megan, I think you're first.
Morning, Megan.
Morning.
Morning.
We have one action item for you this morning. We're recommending that the board continue Mike Wilburn's leave of absence until October 5th if needed, with health and continuation of health insurance premiums. This is consistent with past actions that we've taken. It'll get us closer to his hopeful return to work.
I'd move to continue Mike Wilburn's leave of absence until October 5th, 2021, if needed, with continuation of health insurance premiums.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded to continue Mike Wilburn's leave of absence until October 5th, 2021, if needed, with continuation of health insurance premiums. No additional discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. I don't really have anything else to update in your packet, other than I know we mentioned it at the last meeting because I think it had just occurred, but just congratulations again to the wastewater treatment plant folks for reaching 11 years with no reportable injuries. I hit your packet this time, but shout out to them. Other than that, I'll be happy to answer questions.
Anything else for Megan? Thank you, Megan. Grant, you're up.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
I do have one action item this morning. During some routine cleaning and inspecting, we came across this sewer on South Jefferson between Yerby and Summit. It's in pretty rough shape. As you can see in the pictures, there's cracks and holes, missing pipe. A lot of it's egg shaped and starting to collapse. That's a 15-inch pipe, and it's roughly around 9 inches in spots. At this point, my recommendation would be a motion to replace approximately 220 foot on South Jefferson between Irving and Summit for approximate cost of $28,000. We do put $300,000 aside a year budget for sewer main replacement. We have spent approximately $80,000 is what was budgeted for North English. North English is coming in way under budget since we used the rock that the city had ground up, so that project's way under budget. This one, we'll probably have to go back and use some rock from the quarry. We've about to use that pile up out there, so. But I think 28,000 ought to get all of it done. This main is in pretty serious condition. It needs attention pretty quick.
How soon can you start on that?
We would start right away. We got, I checked lead times on pipe, and we can get pipe delivered in 3 days and get started.
Is this, do you think, the only section that's gonna need?
In that area right now, that is the only section that's in this dire need of shape.
Make a motion to replace approximately 220 feet of sewer main on South Jefferson Avenue between Derby and Summit Streets. The approximate cost of $28,000 using in-house labor and equipment.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded to replace approximately 220 feet of sewer main on South Jefferson Avenue between Derby and Summit Streets with approximate cost of $28,000 using in-house labor and equipment. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen. I don't have anything else to add except crews are beginning today to connect services to the new main on Gordon. We finally got some time and allowed, and we're starting to hook people up to that today.
Just out of curiosity, and I know that you deal with this all the time, when you redo that main, I think it was mentioned there's 5 services on there. What do those people do? I mean, how long does that take?
They're never out of service. It's hot the whole time. And we typically, when we replace a main now, we'll take plastic to behind the curb. So when the street repairs are made, if there's anything that ever happens, they won't have to go back in the street. They can just go to the curb and meet our plastic.
Great.
But they're never out of service, so.
That's good to know. Okay, any other questions for Grant?
Meeting with Burns McDonald go well.
It did. It went real well. They brought their electrical engineer and their architect. It went real well. We made a lot of progress and kind of got nailed down what utilities expects.
Pleased with them.
Very pleased so far.
Anything else? Thank you, Grant. Morning, Jim.
Morning, Jim.
I've got one action item there. We've been talking about the plow and the trailer and the truck, but plow bids are due August 3rd next week. We've got the truck. We've been talking about the trailer, but we don't actually officially have approval yet to have a trailer. So we wanted to make sure we get all our bases covered there. So we're asking for approval to get bids for a trailer. What we're looking at is a 25-ton trailer, probably with a 5th wheel hitch for the big truck and air brakes. There's some around, very few around, but there's some around for about $23,000 in Kansas City. What we've heard is that if they're not on the lot, it's going to take you a year to get one. So we found a few that are like that. We could get by with a smaller trailer, half as much capacity, but it would probably be electric brakes, and that would require retrofitting the truck and various other things. So I think the best bet is to stick with air brakes and appropriate hitch and all that. So we're looking at probably around $23,000 roughly. And we'll send that out for bids if we get approval.
Guess you probably better get a trailer to haul the plow, huh?
Yeah, probably ought to.
Make a motion to request bids for a trailer to haul the vibratory plow.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to request bids for a trailer to haul the vibratory plow. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Pretty much just other normal stuff going on. We're still working at Lakeview Trade Park and a few other odd jobs we're finishing up on. We've got a license plate recognition camera for the park that we'll probably try to install next few days. So the cameras we have out there, they're all pretty high quality cameras, but they don't capture license plates very well. No normal security camera does very well without that. So you have to get a purpose-built license plate camera to kind of recognize license plates. So we'll be hanging that here shortly, hopefully.
Has it helped deter anything out there, or do you know?
It's hard to say. They've had some interesting things they've watched on people climbing on the roofs of bathrooms and whatever else. Yeah. But, there's
Is
always
there a
going to
shelter house burned out there?
be. We have a camera at the bottom of the hill there. We can see some cars leaving and entering and exiting, and so they've got some leads. But you can see the fire at the top of the hill, which it's a couple thousand feet away. So yeah, there's dark spots. So.
Jim, do you have any pictures of that trailer, what that trailer's gonna look like? Or
It'll be
flatbed?
40-foot flatbed. I think the actual lower bed is like 20 some feet with a dovetail, manual ramps, and then there'll be an upper level that's like 10 feet where the hitch is. That's what we're looking at. It won't be hydraulic tilt or hydraulic ramps or anything. It'll be manual ramps, spring loaded.
Anything else for Jim?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Travis, good morning.
Morning.
Travis.
Not a whole lot to add, other than what's in the board packet, but we have to answer any questions if you have any.
What's your feeling about the discussion we had this morning?
I've talked to her multiple times, and she's talked to DNR multiple times. They've been there, and they're not seeing anything there either.
Is she related to Tammy?
I don't know.
Has DNR has been there?
Yeah, DNR's been there also. I've been in contact with them, and
So all our levels are good. We're putting out
Yeah.
exactly what we're supposed to put out. We're meeting all
Yes.
our requirements, and
the levels that she requested is leaving the plant, and does not have anything to do with anything in our distribution system as far as being in compliance. Because although that 4, which yes, it is an EPA requirement to be less than 4 milligrams per liter, but that's based on a running annual average of monthly averages. So we take, 15 samples a month, I believe, out of the distribution system each month. So then we would average all those to get our monthly average. And then they do that for the previous 11 months. And that's your running annual average. Nobody in the state of Missouri, even when I was with DNR, has ever violated that. And I've looked at it, and we're not even close on the distribution system.
We stay around 2.
So I think in the last couple of months, looking at Eric does the distribution sampling, I think we maybe had 2 distribution samples that were 3.1, 3.2. So most of them are between 1.9 and 2.5.
Those are at the pump houses.
Right, and where it's coming 2 times.
The tower usually around 1.8 or 2. Most, we maintain around 2. I would guess. It's unofficial, of course, but I would expect the average would be around there.
If y'all want, I can pull all that stuff up, and I can get you an answer on what our running annual average is and all that, if you don't like. Here in the distribution system.
I know it's speculation, but would you have any idea What's causing?
On older plumbing, some of the fixtures, things like that, chloramines can break down the rubber components. And the chemical that she was talking about, that is part of those rubber components in plumbing systems. Because we do volatile organic chemicals leaving the plant and everything was no detect. So it's not coming from the plant or anything, so it would be the items breaking down in the plumbing system.
There's not really a whole lot we can do about that. I mean, we did this to stay in the
Stay in
guidelines is why we did our plan. So I don't know that we're gonna be able to give her answers and satisfy her. But we can give her the information that we have.
Right.
That's all.
And she did, earlier this week, she did request to see our chloramine levels leaving the plant for the entire month of June, which I supplied it to her, since it's all public record anyway. And yeah, the month of June, yeah, it was close to 4. Some days were over 4, others were, but the average for the entire month was 3.9 something leaving the plant. So I don't know. And I can look at some of the secondaries and look at some of their results and everything, but I don't see, I don't know. Maybe it'll adjust some. Don't want us to be an issue with the distribution system or anything else either.
No, we gotta take care of the whole system.
Yeah.
You know, this time of year, in a distribution system, I'm battling the heat. You know, it's hard on formings. We've maintenance flushed twice this month just because the ammonia levels were not getting out of whack, but you could see the change. So we maintenance flushed some areas just to keep levels right.
Thank you, Travis. Anything else?
Thanks, Travis.
Doug, good morning.
Good morning. Just a couple updates to add to the board packet. Southeast sub project, the second bid opening for the circuit switcher, we had to push that back a week. We had some questions from some vendors that were leading right up to the deadline, and I did talk to Jeff about that. He said it'd be a good idea to go ahead and extend that one more week. So the bid opening for the circuit switcher is tomorrow. I hope to have a recommendation at the next board meeting. The first item there on miscellaneous at the wastewater treatment plant, we did get the last transformer energized down there, so they are full powered up and getting close to back to normal anyway. Other than that, I don't have anything else to add unless you have any questions for me.
Any questions for Doug? Thank you, Doug. Carl, good morning.
Morning, General. Just a few little updates on the demolition, where we had planned to put the fence. We'll be putting it further north. If you're familiar with that double gate that's north of the truck scales, we'll probably run straight across from there and then just turn and go north about 50 feet to the old truck shop. The reason for that is Grant's hauled a lot of dirt over there, and with the fill we got, I think we're gonna be able to have that grade down pretty good, which I'm just gonna plant grass in. We'll have some concrete areas, they're gonna saw it, but we'll have some broken places that, you know, that kind of thing, just to kind of square all that up over there. They are crushing rock over there to cover the old coal yard. Not sure if we'll have an abundance of that some left over or not, but so that's all moving along well. Other than that, they are going to have us run our biannual capacity test today, and so we'll be running all of our units at full load for a 2-hour period to get that number they use for our capacity calculation. And I think we've been over everything. It looks like everything's ready to go. You never know when something could go wrong. It's kind of I think we're well prepared for it. We'll continue to go well, and we'll get another good number this time. Yesterday, we had a peak of 34.9 at 5 o'clock. I'm expecting that to be higher today. The number they're using for our demand right now is 35.8. That was the number that came up in June, but it was just one of those quick spikes, so we didn't. It's when you get the longer period of heat that you start getting those higher demands throughout the whole footprint, and that's what they go by. It's not that, well, Marshall can have a peak and not necessarily the whole pool. So it's when the whole pool peaks, and they're looking to have that today.
You offhand remember what the peak was last year?
The one we're paying off of right now is 35.8. And I think that's real close to what it was last year, although they picked this one up in June. So we may have been closer to 36 last year. I didn't look back at that number.
Do they determine when you start this test?
That we did talk about it. Of course, they want you to run it during the hottest part of the day because that's when you're going to get the least generation. But we'll be running it from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock today. I think they would have liked to have had it even later than that because the actual peak probably comes around 5 or 6. And I think yesterday's was 5, so we may be just a little ahead of it. I know there's a peak alert out. Anytime you can save between noon and 7, 8 o'clock is a good thing.
Any other questions for Carl? Thank you, Carl.
Good luck you day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pulling for you.
All right.
Full time.
I appreciate that.
Nolan, good morning.
Morning, Nolan. Some updates, the Headworks exhaust fan motor, was ordered. It should be here next week. The 10 horsepower motors that we got from RS for our hydraulic packs on the belt presses, we started to install those yesterday, the guys did, and found out that the flange on those motors was wrong. Luckily, RS was on site yesterday for the doing some pre-bidding things for our waste or aeration basin project. So that guy actually took those motors back and they're shipping the right ones to us today. The DNR inspection went well Tuesday. We should have a report in a week and a half or two. Didn't seem to go too bad. Burns and Mac was on site yesterday. They're the lead construction manager for that project was there, like I say, and they did some, I guess, kind of general contractor bidding as far as who's going to install the equipment for us, who's going to do some of the grade work, things like that, and the electrical people also. After Doug's guys powered up that last transformer for us is for the aeration or the sludge Holton Basin basement. We got those sludge pumps put in. There was an issue with one of the motor starters, and the exhaust fan for that building is bad, so we're looking at a replacement for that. Other than that, we're just trying to get back to normal.
Any other questions for Nolan? Thank you, Nolan. Tony?
Morning. Included in the packets, June financials. We're 9 months, so it's 75% of budget is where we should be. Overall, is a pretty good month. Electric did have a loss, but we're kind of getting errands wrapped up. So they had $127,000 expense that we paid in June. So I think that puts us at about 2.5 million for the year. And I think we have around 220 left. So we're wrapping that up next month. I think there's 167 we paid in July, And then, so we're like 55,000 left. So we're getting there. June, we also was our last month with our power bill based on the old contract. So going forward, we expect to see a slight decrease in that as well. I did include the bad debt expense. We do that adjustment twice a year. In June, we did an adjustment for $29,000. Overall, our bad debt expense did go down slightly. But you can see our recoveries, we're doing pretty well on trying to recoup a lot of that. I think a lot of that might have helped with the stimulus money. We had a month there where I think we had like $6 or $7 grand in a day was paid in bad debts. So it's helping us there. On the cash side, you will see I did add the generation funds for 6, 7, 9, 10, 11. The 327, that was basically the credits from October to May. So going forward, when we do that, when MPUA sends us the breakout of the credits, then I'll have that included in there going forward. I&I, we went down slightly. We did do our monthly deposit of $24,000, but we did pay SAK. That was our final payment for the 2020 CIPP. So that fund balance went down $9,200 to just a little over $1 million. Like I said, everything I think looks well. I did include the intergovernmental loan to the city just to kind of keep you guys on board of what's going on. In June, they did their first withdrawal for $205,000 to Remco, and we paid that. I guess the bigger thing there is on the wastewater rate increase. Me and Jeff have been looking at this with plan on budgeting to spend an estimated 8.3 next year down there in Nolan's. Right now, we're kind of looking at a little over $5 increase. So the average residential's sewer bill would go from $36.73 to $41.98. It's still an estimate. Obviously, there's a lot of things Jeff's working on for funding. But right now, we're definitely looking at probably taking a loan from MPUA. And we haven't gotten solid numbers as far as interest rates and the terms. But with this rate increase, that was estimated a 15-year loan, which is a little longer than I want to go. But that, like I said, a lot of that will change once we find out what funding we're getting, if we're getting any. So if we don't get any funding, we could be looking at another rate increase down the road. So like I said, it's still a moving target, but we're hoping. I think Burns McDonnell is supposed to get his final numbers at the end of August, so that's when I think we'll have more of a solid minimum. Like right now, we're just looking at the minimum that we can do to get us by. So I'd be more happy to answer any questions.
We're not for sure on interest rate for MPUA.
They said it'd be. Right now I'm using a 2.5% interest rate because that was they said it'd be between 2 and 3, so I'm just split the difference. But we won't know until we get the final numbers. So, and it might be a combination of trying to use our reserves and a loan. So hopefully we'll have more information when we get final numbers.
We kind of knew we were gonna have an increase.
Yeah, I mean,
You have to.
yeah. I just want to talking with Jeff. We just want to try to do the bare minimum starting out, and then, like I said, we can do additional down the road if we need to. But
Anything else, gentlemen? anything? Somebody gonna take it? Judy?
Yes, no more question.
Sure.
How much money you think that will actually bring, that increase bring in each year for you guys?
700.
I-
700,000.
Thank you. I know what that bill is gonna be, and I know something has to be done.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that would increase our revenue 700,000 a year, basically to cover the loan payment. So I can kind of answer the first part of Jeff's.
Okay.
Right. He's kind of, we've been talking about possibly doing public meetings to just kind of inform the public of what's going on. I think Jeff's talked to Birds McDonald, and they're more than willing to come down and bring diagrams of the plan, what they're going to do, and answer questions, and then we can answer questions as far as the financial side of it. So I think Jeff was thinking possibly having one mid-August, starting that process. So I think he just wanted to get your guys'.
Yeah, I talked to Jeff there, I think it's a fine idea that we do that.
Yeah.
Possible board members could be there. I did ask him for maybe some bullet points or talking points, especially for me, but to have available if anybody stops and asks questions, or especially at the meetings.
Sure.
I think it'd be a great idea to get as much factual information out there as we can before people start making the assumptions. It snowballs into something. Trying to catch them. Sure.
Yeah.
I'd rather get in front of it. We're doing this for the community to help everybody out.
I don't think people know how bad plant
No,
condition
because
of it
works.
is. Yeah. Yeah.
Most of it goes away.
Kenny, you think? All for it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm sure Jeff will be reaching out to you guys, let you know. So.
I think it's great.
I think on that second part, they're under the plant repairs, Jeff and I talked about that afternoon. I think the total decent.
Yeah, I think we had to have it in by, was that Monday or Tuesday? They wanted us to get numbers, and
I think it was around 480, wasn't it?
yeah, it was just right around $500,000, which would be our insurance. So, and then I don't know if we'll. I'm guessing they'll let him know how the funding's going to work if we qualify or not. So, but we were looking at just right around $500,000 of expense down there. And I didn't mention this, but I met with Septicon this morning. They are starting on the office tomorrow. So, yeah.
Is there anything else? There's also a annual electric department report.
Very well done.
I do have a couple of questions, Doug.
Okay.
Did we miss you, Doug?
No, we just didn't have much.
On page 2 of the report, this is in regards to switchgear. The very first one, it says breakers are tested, inspected at 5 to 7 year interval for proper operation. I would rate the condition of this switchgear as poor to fair. I guess my question is,
That's the Miami one switchgear.
Yeah.
Right.
and if I read this correctly, that kind of supports what's out on Highway 20 West, is that right?
No, that's our substation there on Miami Street.
Okay.
That's Miami one sub. That feeds North Street sub. A lot of residential there. It feeds Conagra.
Oh,
Also feeds up north part of town. what supports 20 highways, our west substation,
Okay.
out there by Scheichel's property.
Okay, so
That
this-
switchgear is in pretty bad shape. It's a metal clad outdoor switchgear. We've had a lot of problems in there. We tried, back in the day when they first installed that switchgear. It wasn't climate controlled. There was a lot of condensation in there. So in order to take out the condensation, the idea was to put heaters in there. And really all that did was dry out all the lubrication on all the breakers. Ended up having a lot of issues with the breakers after that. Some of the mock switches, the way the operators get their information, just the way the breakers rack in the cubicles, we've had a lot of trouble with those. So yeah, that's next on the list after Southeast Sub. As soon as we get Southeast Sub done, we're gonna move right into that set of switchgear and transformer to get that replaced.
And then on the southeast substation switchgear, page 9.
On the switchgear, yes,
It's
that's,
also rated as 4.
yes. That's part of the switchgear we're replacing now. We've, that's on order. They're actually building that now.
It just kind of caught my eye when it's expected on a 5 to 7 year interval, that's rated 4 to verify.
Yeah, well, we have them tested every year or every 5 or 7 years, just testing, doing dielectric tests, testing the breakers, adjusting the contacts, checking the contacts. Those breakers are old, they're a vertical rack, just the design of them. They have a nickname, they're called Magna Blast. They're really not reliable. Our breakers don't get operated a whole lot, which helps us on that end. And they're just getting close to the end of their life. You know, we need to get them moved out. And that is part of the southeast substation upgrades to replace that switchgear lineup.
Okay. Thank you, I appreciate that. If there's nothing else, I guess we'll move on to cash disbursements.
Anybody else feel like Tony's softening us up for something?
I think you did much better.
Just wait till next month.
Any,
There's only one meeting next month. by the way.
any of the bills from Rental come in?
Yeah, there's another one in there
That's
for 158. And believe it or not, the federal federal protection, the $6,300 is for the drive-through window. They finally sent me an invoice. We could not get them to send us anymore. Yeah.
Wanted to help us out.
Yeah, I guess so.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second?
Motion been made and seconded to approve cash disbursements. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Any other business?
Just make sure your guys, ladies are safe out there in this heat, guys. They need a break or need hydration, make sure they get what they need, okay? Because it's gonna be a hot one, we need to take care of them. Okay?
If there's no other business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Next board meeting.
Oh, the next board meeting is August 12th. Yeah, sorry.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
Executive session.
Pardon?
Do we need an executive session? Megan, you don't need an executive session on anything, right?
Unless y'all have any questions.
You second the motion to adjourn?
So move.
Okay. Motion been made, second to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Nolan, I have a question for you and Tony.